Today we're at Mount Pleasant. I don't think I'm going to do a whole video on this place because there's not much out here, friends. It is a giant field of nothing except park. Yes, a giant field of nothing. So it's a circuit race, 5-mile loop, and the Masters field will be doing 5 of those. Pro field's going to be doing 7 of those, and we're going to be leaving at the same time. All right, friends, here we go. This is Mount Pleasant. I'm only going to do 2 minutes on this race, so bear with me real quick. It's a 5-mile circuit race, and our group was supposed to do 5 laps, and the pro race did 7 laps. We left 2 minutes behind them. Then, unfortunately, there was a pretty nasty crash in the pro race in their second or third or fourth lap or whatever it was, so I was already back at start finish to watch that. And you see Jaden there on my right with the leader's jersey and the black and yellow kit. He is going to solo away from the field. Apparently there was another group of 10 up the road that brought home the rest of the group, and then the rest of the finish came after that. I just left because it was also really, really hot this day. I was suffering, so my time in this race was not going to be long no matter what. But this is pretty much it. There's nothing out here. This is the site of the old Foxconn fiasco. If you're curious about that, like, you know, Google it. It's pretty wild to trust politicians and foreign governments to come up with a plan that's going to help our country. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that'll work out great. What could go wrong? So, yeah. Anyway, this is where I'm going to blow my tire up, and you can see these sewer grates, and we'll go over a number of them, no problem. And then I went over one that was kind of a problem, and here it is. Here's my problem, right? Did it? Goner! That thing is gone. We could check out the rear view. I was actually in a pretty decent position. There was a lot of people at this race. I think a lot of people come for this circuit race because it's quote-unquote safe. So it was a huge field. I didn't realize there were that many people out. Look, I was doing okay. I was doing okay, guys. Here's my riding the truck back. I did edit my Strava activity, so there you go. Sewer grate. Well, I'm not sure how much longer I was going to make it anyway. Hey race fan, Brian Davis races, and you can too. Today we are at the start of Tour of America's Dairyland, Thursday the 20th. What race you guys doing here? 3-4s with aggression. Have fun, friends. Race fam, let's get this cracking. I am super excited to show you this race, mostly because I actually finished it. So yay! Spoiler, I finished the race. Woohoo! So I'm getting clipped in here, having a lot of trouble getting clipped in. Felt like a GCN host. Eventually, I figured out. And that is doubly frustrating because this course is exceptionally difficult to move up. And we're going to talk quite a bit about this course and some different things to think through if you're going to be doing this race. So a number of people talk to me at the start-finish line or whatever and say like, hey, I watched your video last night or whatever. So I appreciate that. One thing you can do for me when you do watch the video to get a course recon or just to be entertained by my lovely entertaining stuff I do, please, for the love of God, subscribe, smash the like button, do all that YouTube-y stuff. So I really appreciate it. These videos definitely don't make themselves, so any positive feedback goes a long way. Somebody at the start line today had positive things to say, so I really appreciate that. And then after the finish, a couple of the guys from Texas Roadhouse showed their appreciation. So again, really appreciate that. It's nice. It's nice. It's nice, man. It's nice. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to run the first 2 laps, and the reason I'm running the first 2 laps because the turns are kind of funky, and I want to do like an intro to the video first in the first lap so you can just kind of get the feel for it, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the corners in particular. So this course shapes up a little bit like a bow tie. So there's 6 corners, and the streets are, let's say, questionable. But one thing about Milwaukee is we have winter here, friends. So I know some of you guys come from Florida and California and places that don't really have winter. So what happens in the winter is we run plows over all these streets, and then it freezes and unfreezes and freezes and unfreezes and has a ton of salt thrown at it. So can you imagine the effort that goes into even keeping the streets as beat up as they are in some of these stretches relatively reasonable in a city the size of Milwaukee? It ain't easy. So I have a little sympathy for my friends that organize these events, and also the people who work in the city. That must be a very, very challenging job. And in particular, the course, so let me run you through this, because we're going to do a little bit of a game here shortly about how many people I pass and how many people pass me, and it's a lot of people pass me, as you might imagine. So all right, that's turn 1 right there. Pretty straightforward 90-degree turn. You could really undercut that turn, and I did that quite a bit during the race to make up at least a few spots. But this one is a butt kicker. So it's over 90, and it's basically a flat-out sprint every time you're coming out of there, because you're basically at a standstill. And if you're in the top 5 riders, you can carry some speed through there. So you can do the math there, right? So if top 5, 10 riders are carrying speed, everybody else is on the back foot and struggling. So there's a huge benefit to getting yourself up in the top 5. Now, last year I had the fitness to do that. Oh, I take that back. Last year my crank failed me right at the start line, so I was on a borrowed pit bike, and I did not do very well in this race, so I take that back. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, my teammate Andy was in the front 5 most of the race, and that's what he said. He could carry some speed through there. So turn 3 is just that in and out, kind of the bow tie section, and then down here is a little downhill to a straightforward 90. And then this road is really not too bad. And we're going to do one more 90, and this road up here is the worst one. It is just beat. And last year it was actually, if you can believe it, last year it was worse. The potholes got filled this year, but yeah, okay. And the racing line is over on the left, but they redid probably the sewer, which caused fresh pavement to be on the right. Not super helpful, but a couple of the laps we went in there and messed with that stuff. So a couple things with my power. The first couple days, the first day was so hot, and my heart felt terrible. I just don't think I had been on my bike in 4 days prior to that, so that was a shock to the system. So I struggled there, and also just the stress of racing and taking turns elbow to elbow with all these guys is a whole nother layer of stress, and it just takes a minute to get used to it. So Tuesday was a disaster. Wednesday I got the flat, like we talked about in the beginning of this video, although like I alluded to, not entirely sure how long I was going to be there anyway. So this race, I'd say like right about now in the race, I felt like, oh, okay, I feel much better today. My heart's not freaking out. My power is manageable. I felt I could manage the pace-ish. I definitely was not in a position where like, oh, I could totally move up whenever I feel like it. No, that was never the case in this race. But at least I felt like a bike racer and not like, I don't know, people who don't race bikes, however they feel. That's how I felt Tuesday and Wednesday. But today I feel like a bike racer. Yay! Yeah. So, which is good for me. It's good for my brain. It's good for my motivation to at least feel like, okay, I'm not totally wasting my time racing bikes. I enjoy the fitness side. I enjoy the equipment side. I enjoy hanging out with all the people that race bikes. I enjoy the atmosphere, the racing, the friends and family. Yeah, no. There's a lot of positives to it. But if you're absolutely terrible at it year after year after year, you gotta start asking yourself some questions. So today I felt much better. Now tomorrow I might suck, and then I'm like, oh, I hate this sport. So it goes back and forth. All right, so now I want to play this game. Now I'm dead last. Let's count how many people. Oh, this is too fast now. I got like 4 riders behind me. Let's see if I get some more spots here. And throughout the race, I was acutely aware that I was riding in the back, but not necessarily blatantly aware. So every once in a while I'd turn around and look and be like, oh my God, I'm the last rider. Holy crap. And then I'd think like, okay, I'm going to move up. So then I'd pass like a couple guys and I'd feel like, oh, okay, you're in a good spot. Like this is a good example. I'm like, oh, I'm in a good example. There's a good moment for me. I moved up a bunch of spaces, and now keep an eye on the rear camera. You're going to see I'm going to, look, there's only like 5, 6, maybe 8 guys behind me now after that. What I thought I gulped up a lot of spaces, but in reality I didn't. Now I'm down to like 4 guys behind me. So I did get some advice from a crit racing friend of mine, Dan, and he's a very, very good crit racer, cross racer, the whole 9 yards, and he gave me some good advice, just like count how many people are passing you in each corner and make that a net positive, right? So you have to pass more people than pass you. It seems really obvious, but I like the way he broke it down in his suggestion to me to just think through each corner, who passed you, who didn't. Somebody passed you, okay, go get that spot back. And then when you're popping out of these corners, commit to it. Another really good conversation I had prior to the race was a gentleman named Wyatt. After he raced, I said, what'd you think? And he's like, it's like, he's like, you do cyclocross, right? Yep, absolutely. He's like, it's like a cyclocross race. You're either braking or sprinting. I'm like, that is such a good description of this course. So that is basically what's happening in this course. Every corner is an effort. And so I'm really glad I had the conversation with Wyatt, because Wyatt, it made me embrace this turn 2 that I know every time I pop out of this corner, it's going to be brutal. So now we're on the last lap. So you can see, like, here's a bubble on the last lap. Like, what a gift, what an opportunity, and I didn't take advantage of it. I didn't go screaming up the inside to gobble up 10, 15, 20 spots. But whatever. I'm pretty tired, guys. This is a lot of watts for me over and over and over again. A lot of sprints for me over and over and over again. And all these guys, too. I understand that, but oof. So this course is just tough. If you're not in the top 5, 10 spots in the beginning of the race, you're just constantly going to be paying for that. So if you're watching this in the future, do your best to get up to those 5, 10 spots in the first 3, 4 laps, and it will definitely pay dividends to you the rest of the race. Okay, now last lap, I'm thinking, I'm obviously not going to do anything too spectacular here. I want to keep my skin, and I want to do the best I can. I felt like I should have somewhat of a sprint, like maybe I can pick up a few spots here, but it was just tough. Everybody else thought the same thing. So as soon as 500 watts, look at that. I'm not passing a soul at 500 watts, and the race is definitely up the road. They're about a turn ahead of me to the leader. So yeah, nothing's going to happen here, my friends. But yeah, what are you going to do? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a little push here at the end on this rough road. I'm going to get up on it early, thinking like, well, maybe if I put on a longer effort, I can pass at least a few people. And I'm going to get a couple, right? Like maybe. I don't know where that guy went. Where'd he go? He was in the rear camera, and then he just disappeared. It's interesting. I'll also say I almost dropped my chain 3 or 4 times, so that Ultegra Shimano fix is not doing it, and I'm just frankly fucking pissed that Shimano makes such a shitty Ultegra product.